Share. I just got a retweet from Eric Trump by Matt Fowler warning full spoilers for the episode below. While we didn't get the time jump the show seemed to be setting us up for, we were given a few strange left turns this week with Valerie Solanas died for your sins, scumbag. By the end of it, everything we'd seen had been a ruse orchestrated by Kai and Francis Conroy's Bebe Babbitt. It was textbook puppeteering. But did that twist warrant an entire episode of flashbacks containing a reimagining of Solana's Scum Manifesto as much more violent movement that everyone thought were the Zodiac killings? Normally when horror story dives headlong toward new territory it doesn't feel this listless. The payoff didn't quite warrant the journey here. We could have done with less time in the past, perhaps half as much time even, and more in the present. It was easy to spot, from the very beginning, that Kai wasn't about to share power with anyone, but was that one cold shoulder from him really enough to drive Beverly into an entirely new cult? More than that even, how did Ivy go from where she was over the past 2 episodes to someone who willingly and glee butchered Harrison with a meat saw? They had one meeting with Bebe and it just didn't feel like enough to drive them all into a murderous offshoot movement aimed at men. A bit more was needed here. I'm not sure what Kai's angle is here, but it's unknown right now who the true mastermind is. Beb's been at the secret murder club game a lot longer than Kai, so it should stand that SHES got deep-rooted con game in mind for the country. But the using of the women, making them kill and having them think they're in direct opposition to Kai, certainly feels like Kai. Now here's the really strange part of this episode, which, again, was an interesting chapter but one that was also overly invested in the Lena Dunham flashbacks. One nutty reveal in Solana's backstory was that it was the women of Scum who were killing couples in the Bay Area in the late 60s and not the Zodiac Killer, who was apparently just a weirdo sending puzzles to the press and taking credit. Horror stories played around with history in fun ways before. Remember how Rudolph Valentino was actually a vampire, but this little time warp seemed to trample on the toes of Hotel, given the series' larger shared universe. Now, in Hotel and it gets blurry here, Evan Peters played the ghost of James March, who was a Los Angeles double for H.H. Holmes. March would host a dinner every Devil's Night for a phantom squad of notorious real-world, our-world serial killers. One of them, yes, was the Zodiac Killer, and the joke was that he always kept his hood on because he was never caught or identified. It was a harmless gag, but also a confusing one since the show could have easily just given Zodiac a face and named him on its own terms. Now, the costume and hood worn by the Scum member in this episode was identical to the one worn by the person who showed up at Mark's annual ghost dinners. That part connects. But who is under the hood at Mark's dinners? The easy answer is Butchie May, who was the Solana's follower in the actual costume during the murders. But then, how would May hear Mark's otherworldly request if March put the call out to Zodiac? What sort of supernatural telegraph determined where that message went? If March envisioned a mystery man, did a mystery man show up as an embodiment of who everyone thinks committed the murders, or did the cosmos actually contact the real person in the suit? And if it did, May and the rest of her group didn't consider themselves to be Zodiac at all? And if March simply called out for whoever it was that killed all those people during that spree, why didn't all the Scum women show up? That was an odd bit of business.